Hello, hello. So at Kscope, I am going to do a presentation on Hooked on Classic Reports. It's about custom name report templates. And one of the demos has this to-do list where you can click on any of the items and imagine it's a to-do list, and I can enter the name of someone here. I could say Jorge, completed by. The date would be optional in this example, but let's say today I bought X. I click apply changes and the report refreshes and we get a checkbox that shows up. And you could just as well select something, delete it, or you could add a brand new element as well, and the report would refresh. Sure, let's add lemonade. So I wanted to do a little quick video here to show you how easy it is to build something like this. So I'm gonna start from scratch. I'm actually gonna maybe even tackle this on Apex 5.1 early adopter and see how that goes. So whenever I start a project, I create some directories, and I'm just going to create those directories just for organization purposes and because I kind of like to do that. So I have a directory here, log. I'm going to create 001 for this being the first video. I'm being optimistic about creating more, and I'm going to run those commands. Okay, once I run those commands, I'm going to open Sublime, which is my favorite editor. And now you can see that Sublime has opened this folder structure where I can start creating all my elements and anything I need for my project. Now, as part of Sublime, I also then want to save this as a project, so whenever I get back to it, it's already all complete with all the elements. So I'm gonna go here, and in the bin directory, I'm just gonna give this a name of 001. There. So now it's a project I can get back to whenever I want. So the first thing we're gonna need for our to-do list is a table. So I'm gonna type OTable and tab, and what you see here is text expander with a default structure that I like to use for tables, just to get me started. We're gonna call it app to do, and I'm gonna make this a SQL format. I'm going to get rid here of the right stuff, and you do that in Sublime with, I'm on a Mac, so you do Command KB and it shows up, or Command KB, it hides. All right, so this is just a very standard table. And because these are to-dos, instead of name, I'm going to call it to-do. Okay, so that's my to-do. I don't need an alias here, so Shift Control K deletes the line. I don't need it to be active or inactive. And you know, I'm gonna delete the display sequence, although I'm already thinking on doing a future video where we implement some drag and drop functionality. So why don't I keep it so that I don't have to add the column later, but we're just gonna hard code it for now. But display sequence would be the sequence in which we're going to display our to-do elements. Also, you know, I'm thinking that because we're in an Oracle database, might as well make this be multi-user. So let's say that there's an owner of this, and by owner, that's gonna be my partition of who is creating this record and who owns this record. So if I log in with my user, my username would be on the owner, and only I would see my records. All right, I also need to have a completed by, right? And completed on, which would be our date. Now these can be null. We want our to-do to not be null. We want our display sequence to not be null. Although right now, you know what? Let's just make it nullable so that we don't care what values we have there. But our owner will be mandatory. All right, and now I don't have this active indicator that was part of my initial template, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. And I think we have this great. To-do list. To-do lines. Okay, we have a very standard trigger here that's gonna populate my created on and created by, and updated by, updated on. All right, let's save this. I'm gonna save this, and I'm actually gonna save it to my new directory. And because I had started this window before I created the project, it didn't default to my structure, but I like to put things in the install. That's gonna be my script. All right, great. So here I am in Apex early adopter. I'm going to create, and I'm not sure what I'm going to run into. I did not try this before, so this would be a discovery process, which I think is part of the fun. I'm going to upload my script. Blog 01 install app to do. I don't need a name. I upload it and I run it. Run now. All right, let's look at the results. Great. We have a table, no errors, trigger present. Wonderful. So we can actually get started. First thing is going to be to simply create our blank application. Create application, next, type desktop. My schema is called Jorge here. I'm gonna call it to-do app. That number's fine, of course. Universal theme, and I kind of like Slate, so I'm gonna go with Slate. And because we're creating this totally from scratch, I'm just going to create table. Although, you know, I'm curious to see what's different in early adopters. So let's just do next. Okay, so I could add my new pages. I don't have to. I'm not going to. I don't have anything to copy on share components. We are going to log in with Application Express logins. Great. So it was all the defaults. At this point, we have our app. Now, before I go ahead and log in, I'm going to create a demo user I can log in with. I'm going to go to manage my users. I think I already have my users here, but I'm going to create a user just called demo. And it is not a developer, not an administrator. That's exactly what I want. Let's see if I can set the password to simply demo. I don't think I will. I'm going to say no. Create user. Oh, great. It worked. So let's go back to the app builder. Change this default to the detail view. Run the app. Demo. Demo. Wonderful. Our app is working. So I'm going to start creating the standard form and report on our table. All right, so this looks a little bit different. We are going to be creating a form, and it would be so nice to start trying an editable grid here, but shiny object. Let's get back to what we're doing. We want the first one, report with a form on table. We click next, and I'm going to call this a classic report because we are going to switch it, right, to a custom template to get the exact look that we wanted. If I go back to here, I want it to look like this, and we're going to change the styling. We can do all sorts of things to this. So it will be a classic report. I'm going to start with page 200, and 201 and this would be my to-dos, and this would be maintain to-do. I'm not even gonna create breadcrumbs because I actually want my form to be a modal dialog. Okay, I actually want it to pop open on top of my list. Do I want a navigation menu? So this refers to, on the side, I want to create a new navigation menu entry. And yeah, no parent, just to-dos. I guess we can make it a parent of home, but let's just keep it like this. All right, we're waiting here. Maybe I need a little bit of music. I'm going to select my table, my app to do table. Now, we are going to be changing this. So for the time being, I'm actually simply going to use those values just to have something there. Click next, because this is the report side of things. Then my next question should be, what do I want on the form? Maybe I should edit these portions. All right, by primary key, my primary key is ID. That's the way we're going to maintain our fields, and owner is never really going to be displayed to the on the interface. That's going to be populated behind the scenes to whatever owner is logged in. I'm going to allow editing of these guys. I'm actually going to display the created by, created on, but just as display only. But I'm going to include all of these. All right, create. So we haven't done anything terribly complicated. We're going to run this page. There's our to-dos over here. We have no data. If I click create, I get a modal where I can specify my to-do. Now, I can't create a to-do yet because my owner is mandatory, right? So let's go back here to our page 201. And it looks like I should have kept my owner. So I'm going to just duplicate this guy and call it owner. And this is going to be a hidden field. Let's look at the new component view while we're at it. Okay, so it's going to be hidden, it's value protected, nothing special to do here except our default value. So here's our default. It's going to, we could do a static value, but I kind of like doing the expression, and our expression would be AppUser. Great. So I should be able to create this. Okay, yeah. So Apex saw that these were not null fields, so it's making them mandatory right now for me, and that's okay. What we need to do is select all of these. That's a beautiful feature in Apex 5 that you can select multiple items. I'm going to select all of them, and all of them are going to be display only. That's the first thing I'm going to do. Now, that does not fix the problem I just got. The problem I got is because the created by and created on got, first they got the required template, but that is not the reason I got the error. I'm just going to say optional. Sorry, not optional above, just optional. Where's my validation? Looking for the validation. You're probably looking at the video and screaming, there it is, there it is. Is it that I can't see it? When Huh. I'm looking at all of them. Let's see. I would have expected it to be here, right? It didn't create validations for me. I kind of like those new little blue icons there. Appearance, is it advanced? No. Is it part of the source? Default, conditions, security? No. So what's going on? Configuration, audit. No, that's who did it. Well, see, okay, and you were probably looking at this video and screaming at the screen. Once I switch it to display only, well, they're not required anymore, right? They're just display. So if they had been text as before, let's see, let's switch to text. Text field. What I was looking for is this validation. Require was set to yes before. I wanted to switch it to no, but because I went to display only, that goes away. All right. Well, that was a long trip there. All right, to do milk. Create. Duplicate column name. Of course, remember I made a copy of the to-do to create owner. I completely forgot to change the source. Data is column there. Owner. Save it. Okay. You know, while we're at it, let's create a new sub-region. This sub-region will be our audit information. And it is static content. There's nothing I need to change there. My template, I would like something that is hide and show. So let's expand it all. Layout, form, parent region. There's my template. Okay, so I'm looking inline dialog here, collapsible. So I want it to be collapsible. And let's see, what's the default? Default state is expanded. I'm going to make it collapsed. That's my default. And this is a template option. It controls the look of that element. And now, of course, I need to grab these four guys and drag them as part of the audit information. And we're going to make the audit information have a condition where only if our ID, our item is P201 ID. If P201 ID is not null, then we're going to display our audit. Otherwise, we're creating a record. We don't need to see that, right? I save it. Create. Great. Much better. Milk. Create. Wonderful. And it refreshes, right? This is nice that it gets the edit. And we have audit information. And we can close. Oh. Well, that's interesting. It collapses, but then my buttons go all the way to the bottom. So I wonder if that's something that it's a quirk in Apex 5.1, or do we have the same problem in Apex 5? I don't know. But shiny object again. All right. So the next thing we need to do now is we can finally create a template. We can create a template for this. The structure of the template is actually very simple. Let's switch this to HTML syntax. Great. So a list will look something like this. We have our ULs, we have our LI tags, and then they're closed. And this is our to-do elements. Now, I want to display the to-do, and then I want to have an icon for when they're checked or not checked. And I thought it would look good to use Font Awesome icons. So for that, I'm going to go look at Font Awesome. And if you go to Font Awesome, you find your icons. I'm going to search for one called check. Great. So here's some that I want. So I'm going to want this one, check square, right? I get a checkbox when there's a square, but I'm also going to want the opposite of that, which I think is just simply going to be called square. Square O. Great. So here's what we need. We need square O when it's just the box, and we need check square O when we need a checkbox. So let's grab this, and this is very simple to use. We're gonna grab this guy, copy. This is new. I had not noticed that before. So in our list, for simplification, just to keep it simple, I'm gonna remove that. If I have this is already a to-do list with a checkbox, and if it says check, it's gonna have a check mark. If it doesn't, it's going to be just a square. So this is going to be I want this to be a substitution string. I want to be able to make this be empty, and if it's empty, it's going to look like our other square. Square O. So basically, if it's empty, it's just going to say FA square O, right? You can see if we remove this, we have FA square O. Checked. Great. We're gonna need that dash there to separate. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. So when we set our checked, we'll need a dash as well to separate from that guy. Okay? So this is the whole structure of our template. We may have many to-dos, and for all of them, we need an opening and a closing. So let's go back to Apex. Let's go to Share Components. We're going to Templates. We're going to create a brand new template, and it's a report template. It's going to be from scratch. We're going to call it ToDo List. Template class, why don't we go with custom? And this is the most important setting we need for this. Named column. We click create. Great. Okay. So I call it list or to do. If I could remember, that would be better, right? To do. There's our to-do list. I'm gonna edit. Let's look at the structure. Basically, row template 1 is what do I display for my rows, and what I want for my rows is this. I'm going to remove this. I want to display our to-do and then a checkbox, which based on this substitution will be checked or empty. And I don't need a condition. I don't have a row template too. All my rows look exactly the same. What I do need is something to do before my rows start. Here's where my UL goes. And I don't close it here. I'm going to remove that and remove that. That goes in my after rows. Great. And I'm going to apply changes. Now we can edit our page 200 actually. We enter 200. That's our report page. And I'm going to leave this report alone, and this is classic report, and we're going to create a new one. This is going to be our to-do list, and it is, sorry, it's a classic report, right? And our query is going to be select ID to do if our completed by, if it's null, right? If the completed by is null, it means it has not been completed, so I'm gonna have nothing. Otherwise, I'm gonna have the word check. Let's double check the font awesome guy. Check. Oops, with a dash. Check square. Okay, that's what I need. I need the word check and a dash. Check, and I'm gonna add the dash separate just to make it clear that it's really just based on that word. And our substitution string, what I use for our token, is the word checked. All right, that's it. App to do where our owner equal to our app user, however we're logged in. That's great. Now, how do we use that new template we created? The template on this level right here is for the container of the report. We actually want to go to attributes, and under attributes, instead of standard template, we're going to find our brand new to-do list. I switch that, I save it, and we have a to-do looking element. Now, we haven't created any dynamic actions, right? So all we have is a simple entry. Let's create another entry here. We'll call it orange juice, and I'm gonna enter completed by Jorge. I click create. This refresh. Now this didn't because I don't have a dynamic action, but I'm just gonna refresh the page. And there it is. There's our checkbox. Isn't that neat? So let's do a little bit more things. Now we can start tying in the dynamic actions. So let's look at the current dynamic action. There's a dynamic action here that when you edit, it refreshes the classic report region, right? I'm going to create another true action, which is another refresh. And this is the beauty of why we want to use this classic report custom templates, because it, even though it's a custom layout, all we gotta do is do a refresh dynamic action to refresh that content. Okay, so that's one thing. And when we do a create, exactly the same thing. When we do a create, is refreshing the classic report. We're gonna create another true action, which is also refresh, region, to do. So if I edit the milk entry and make it completed, I'm just gonna say me, click apply changes, both reports refresh and we get a checkbox there. If I add a new element, I'm gonna say cookies, click create, both refreshed and I get my element. Isn't that nice? So at this point, we sort of don't need this guy anymore. But instead of deleting it, I am just going to switch the order. And I'm going to make this guy, instead of standard, I'm also going to make it collapsible. And I'm going to make it collapsed by default. We don't need to see it anymore. But we kind of need to keep that button. Okay? So I'm going to grab that create button and I grab it to the to-do. And I don't like it that says create. I like it more, it says add to do. The other thing I would like to do is I'm going to go to the attributes. And you may have noticed the pagination. Right now, we haven't done anything about pagination. So that would be something else to talk about. But it kind of doesn't look that good, right, to have pagination. So I'm going to say no pagination. And what I mean by that is we have this 1 of 3 thing. And I really don't like it for a to-do list. So I'm just going to remove that. But we want to keep the partial page refresh, right? That doesn't need to go away. All right, and number of rows, how about we make it like 50 so that we don't have problems of running out of things on our to-do list. There. So now our to-dos are on top and we can edit. Finally, the last thing I want to do here is add make it so that we can edit the entries right directly from the list. And that is the easiest thing, because now this to do is just another column, and all I need to do, let's see, I switch this to a link. My type of column now, it's a link. And now I can enter a target. Page in this application is page 201, right? And we're gonna say P201 ID is going to be my ID. We're gonna clear the cache of 201 and click OK. And the only other thing, the reason we're getting an error is because now I have this link text. What is our link text gonna say? Well, I wanted to say the to do, so I just select that to do. That's it. It's still gonna say to do. Save it, run it, and now these guys are links. And if I click on them, our to do opens. Now, it won't refresh yet. So if I uncheck the orange juice by removing my name, click apply changes, the classic report refreshed, but this one did not. So let's add that dynamic action. Just like this one is an edit report dialog. If you look at this dynamic action, it's a dialog closed on the classic report. So we could sort of hijack this one if we're not going to use the other one, but let's create a new one. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to create a new dynamic action. The name is edit to do dialog closed. So when the dialog closes on the region to-do list, our true action would be to refresh our to-do list. That's it. That's simple. Save it, run it. Orange juice. I enter my name, click apply changes, and it refreshes. Cookies, I edit my name, and it refreshes. Add a new element, toothpaste. Great, and it refreshes. So I think this is a good place to stop. Then we can do more styling the next time, but you can see how easy it is to create this custom name report templates. Just a very quick recap. If we look at the attributes, here's where we tied our new template. And if I go look at our template and I edit that, we have our before rows. Then we have our template, which is simply an li element with the to-do and the fun awesome icons. And then we just gotta close our UL in the after rows. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and we'll do another one soon.